Before there were skyscrapers or stock exchanges, there was Trinity Church, a place that's watched New York rise from a colonial outpost to the city we know today. At the top of Rector here, we will run right into Trinity Place and the back of Trinity Church. The building we see here today isn't the original Trinity Church. The first was built after King William III granted the charter in 1697, and work began the following year. The building was lost in the Great Fire of 1776, and its replacement opened in 1790, the same church where President George Washington attended its consecration. It stood until 1839, when heavy snow caused the roof to collapse. In its place rose the current Trinity Church, designed by Richard Upjohn in the Gothic style and completed in 1846. With its 281-foot steeple, it became the tallest building in America at the time and remained a fixture of the New York skyline for decades. And I want to note for you that there is a cafe right out the back of the church, Trinity Cafe. So you could go in here and get yourself a little snack, a little rest from your touring, and they're open Monday to Friday 8 to 5. So it's amazing to see all of the streets down here. The pattern and the way the streets are laid out is completely different than uptown. This is old New York. This is New Amsterdam. So if you want to see the origins of New York City, this is where you need to come. We are going to go on inside the church, have a look inside, and we're going to check out some of the headstones here. Okay, so this little sign is saying that Queen Elizabeth stood on that spot in 1976 when she visited with His Royal Highness Prince Philip. Wow! When Queen Elizabeth II visited in 1976, she accepted 279 peppercorns and symbolic back rent, a nod to the peppercorn rent written into Trinity's 1697 charter. Inside, sunlight pours through stained glass, washing the altar, stone carvings, and vaulted ceilings in shifting color. A reminder of how long this place has watched over the city outside. For anyone who's seen Hamilton, this is where the story meets reality. Alexander and Eliza Hamilton rest here, along with their son Philip, just steps from the church that helped shape early New York. Outside, the churchyard tells its own story. Burials here date back to the 1600s, long before the parish was founded. Exiting the church, we come into the cemetery, and appropriately so, the grave markers are roped off. And if you do want to do a virtual tour, and we are coming or going as the case may be, to see one of our founding fathers. Now, it's my understanding that Alexander Hamilton was buried here after his duel, but prior to that, he was a devoted member here at Trinity Church, and even had his own pew, etc., here at the church. I didn't see a particular marker for his pew, but we are going to visit his gravestone over here. Aaron Burr, his life was never the same after that duel. And then here's his wife, Eliza, the daughter of Philip Schuyler. And you also have Philip Hamilton, who's the firstborn son of Alexander and Eliza. So then we have Robert Fulton. So Fulton Street. This is our guy, Robert Fulton. He was an artist, engineer, and inventor. He developed the first commercially successful steamboat. And Fulton Street, right out front here, not too far from here, I should say, is named of him. And he is interred here in the Livingston family vault. And it's no wonder, just looking around the cemetery, why New York started here. Look at how high up Trinity Church and the burial ground is versus the rest of the city down below us. So this is this side of the cemetery. We'll also go over to the other side to see if there are any other famous folks buried here. And we're just coming around the back of the church, if you will. We were down there on the street not too long ago. And there are even gravestones back here. Okay, this is the other side of the burial ground. And let's see who's over here. So there are gravestones, no surprise, going back to 1700s here. Let's see, 1790, 1770. Oh look, Angelica Schuyler. She is Eliza's sister-in-law to Alexander Hamilton. So she is here in this general vicinity. And if I'm not mistaken, there were 3 sisters, if I'm remembering things correctly. So not surprising that the sisters would be buried here because they were New York society at the time. And I'm going to double check this, and if I can find it, I'm going to insert it here. But I really thought that there was a pirate buried here, and you could come and sit on any one of these benches. You know, bring yourself a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and just sit and reflect. Good place to meditate in great weather. And unfortunately, you can see that a number of the tombstones, you can no longer see who's buried here, though I'd imagine there are church records saying who's buried here. Precisely where becomes the question. So you see grave markers like this in the memory of Elizabeth, but you can't see her name, her birth, her death. This was restored in 1892. So this is a nice, quiet, reflective space. You would not think that you would find a space like this in New York, but it is quiet, it is serene, it is peaceful. Even though there's traffic on either side of us, it's not overwhelming. The cherry blossoms are in bloom, the trees are blooming. It's absolutely beautiful here. The other thing was, I thought that there was a pirate buried here, Captain Kidd, and as it turns out, he's not buried here. However, it is said that he bought some of the materials over on his ship to build Trinity Church. So that is the pirate connection that I was looking for. As it turns out, the most famous residents here are Alexander Hamilton, his wife Eliza, and her sisters are among some of the most famous inhabitants of this cemetery. But there are a host of others here who are famous or infamous. And I do wonder, where is Aaron Burr buried? I'm going to look that up and see if he happens to be here as well. Scandal and crisis averted. As it turns out, Aaron Burr is buried in Princeton, New Jersey. And it's really lovely the way that they've put some seasonal flowers in around the tombstone. We're just going to take a look at this monument over here before we move up Wall Street and over to the New York Stock Exchange. And I say good for Trinity Church. Look at how many pieces of property they have in the area. Why shouldn't they? They've been here, one of the oldest members of the community. So this is a soldier's monument. It was erected in 1852. It was designed by Frank Wills, and it's one of the largest monuments in the churchyard, and it honors the Revolutionary War soldiers held captive in the city of New York and thought to be buried here in Trinity Church. So, to those who fought for our right to be a country, our initial right to be a country in the Revolutionary War. And with that, we are about to exit the Trinity Church burial ground. Okay, we just found this little gem. Richard Churcher, who has the distinction of having the oldest gravestone here in the cemetery. This person lived from 1676 to 1681. This is the son of William Churcher, who he passed away, unfortunately, at age 5. So this gives you context to how long the cemetery and how long a building has stood in this space. All right, and we have here a founding father, Francis Lewis, who is a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Now, I'm not sure if this is his marker or this is his marker. I'm going to guess it's the fancier one, but in retirement, he became involved in political life. He was a founding member of the Sons of Liberty and a delegate to the Second Continental Congress and a Trinity Church vestry member. He is the only signer of the Declaration of Independence buried in Manhattan. How about that? Thank you very much, Mr. Lewis. Francis Lewis. That's why we have Francis Lewis Boulevard in Queens. There's a high school. There's a high school named after him, if I'm not mistaken. So this is why. All right. And so with that, this time, I'm serious, we are going to head on out of the graveyard here. I almost expect to hear the town crier say it's 3 o'clock and all is well. Trinity Church feels like the perfect balance to the glass and steel we saw at the Oculus and One World Observatory. A reminder that New York's future is always built on its past. If you haven't seen those adventures yet, check out our New York City playlist for more ways to explore the city's inspiring spots. And join us for even more New York stories coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you know when the next adventure begins. And no matter where your next adventures take you, we hope that you enjoy the journey. Bye now.